The New York Knicks, they will look to make it 3 wins in a row as they host the Raptors on Saturday night. Time to talk some Knickerbocker basketball, and we will do it with the dean of Knicks Film School. That would be Jonathan Macri, who joins me now. J-Mac, what's good?
Oh, there's a basketball game tonight against two teams that just so happen to play each other on the schedule. Nothing more to see here, Dex, of course.
Just, regular interdivision matchup. Nothing going on with this game. Just, another game on the 82-game schedule for the Knicks. What is there to talk about? No, we're lying, folks. We got stuff to talk about. And we're going to start with the headlines surrounding Saturday night's game, which I think I'll call it a once a Knick, always a Knicks extravaganza. As recently traded players, Immanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, they make their return to the Garden. Got to ask you this, J-Mac. What will be your emotions seeing both former New York draft picks back at MSG, but in a different uniform?
It's weird because I think like a lot of Knicks fans or anyone who has League Pass at least, we've probably been spending a lot of time watching the Raptors over the last few weeks. So seeing Quickley and Barrett in a different uniform, that itself I don't think is going to be strange. I think it's going to be seeing them on the court next to the group of guys who were their teammates for the last bunch of years. That's going to be really odd. I think every fan is going to react to this game differently. I'm sure there's a subset of fans out there who wouldn't mind it if the Knicks actually lost and Quickley and Barrett had great games. For me, and this probably says more about me as a fan than anything else, I'm just thinking, okay, let's get this win. And will it be more if they lose this game tonight and Quickley and or Barrett have great games? Will that make it like bittersweet? Will there be some happiness there, or will it actually be more painful because you're looking at two guys who used to be, yours and now they're playing somewhere else? I think that's kind of the dividing line between how you react to this as a fan, one way or the other.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the fan reaction. I would be stunned if both players don't get standing ovations of some form at the Garden. But, there always could be some people. There's always going to be somebody who might boo. There might be somebody out there. I don't know who that person is, but they might be out there.
Please don't boo. Nobody should boo.
I agree, but we'll see. You never know. When you look at the trade, J-Mac, sending both of those players out and the Knicks acquiring OG Anunoby, with the way things have played out since the deal went down, do you look at this trade as a win-win for both sides?
I think it's a win-win with an asterisk, and the asterisk goes on the Knicks side. For Toronto, I can't imagine them being any more thrilled than they are right now. Quickley has looked great as the starting point guard. His shooting numbers are actually a little bit down from where they were before the trade. But you just take one look at him and how he fits in there, and it's been great. And as for Barrett, he's shooting, it's not only from behind the arc where he's shooting around 40%, but he's shooting 72% at the rim. He's shooting over 50% on short mid-rangers. The version of RJ Barrett that has put on a Raptors jersey is the version of RJ Barrett I think Knicks fans had hoped to see for much of the last several years. From a Knicks angle, it's been great. They've been the second best defense in the league since they got OG Anunoby. They're 8-2, all of that. The reason why there's an asterisk, and I have a feeling we may get into this, is because they have left their roster incomplete. And it is especially painful when you have watched some recent games in which Jalen Brunson has had to sit or Josh Hart had to sit the last game. They took what was their greatest strength and made it arguably their greatest weakness in terms of their depth. So I think, there's going to be another shoe to drop, but by and large, did they get exactly what they thought they were getting, what they wanted, and what they needed from this trade? 100%.
Yeah, and it can happen. I know we look at trades sometimes, and there has to be a winner and a loser, but both teams can win. It is possible, and I do agree with you on the asterisk around the Knicks because that is what we're going to get to next, because what has been evident is since this trade, is exactly what you just talked about. Since the Knicks made this trade and traded both Barrett and Quickley, there's now been a lack of an offensive punch off of the bench. So, with that being said, and I think that being evident for most people watching the team, how imperative do you think it is that the Knicks address the need for a ball handler / scorer off the bench, and how soon do they need to do it?
I think it is vital. The last game against the Washington Wizards, it really came to a head when you saw on the second night of a back-to-back, every one of the starters, I believe, played at least 38 minutes, including OG Anunoby, who was at, I think, 86 or 87 between the two games. Yeah, Brunson didn't come out in the second half. Since the trade, if you look at the NBA's minutes per game leaders, among the top 16 guys in minutes per game, 4 of them are Knicks: Randall, Brunson, Hartenstein, and obviously Anunoby. And because of the lack of offensive punch off the bench, I think Tom Thibodeau is really feeling the need to, it's not even just Brunson who is their engine, obviously, but even Hartenstein, the drop off from him to Achua. And obviously Randall is someone that he if Brunson's not out there, he's going to want Randall out there. So they need to get someone in here. Otherwise, I don't see how they make it till, forget about the playoffs. Like, there's a question of, like, are they going to be able to make it to the trade deadline in one piece, especially when you look at this portion of their schedule? This is the part of the year where they're supposed to clean up and get wins because they're playing all home games, not, a couple of hard games, but this is a manageable portion. They have to clean up here, but they cannot overextend their guys in the process.
That can happen. There's a lot that can go wrong with that if they do overextend guys. But last thing I got for you, J-Mac, before we get out of here, because, it's just a regular game tonight on Saturday, just another one. But we like to talk about keys to the game. So I got to ask you, what do the Knickerbockers need to do in order to spoil the Quickley and Barrett Garden return party and make it 3 wins in a row?
I think the biggest thing, and this is something that was true of playing the Raptors before the trade, and it's even more true since the trade, you have got to prevent them from getting out in transition. We've seen this Knicks offense since the trade, especially, really, get into a new gear. I think for as much as attention has been paid about how good they are defensively now with Anunoby, offensively, I think they make so much more sense, at least in the starting 5, to be very clear. The only time where they've struggled is with turnovers. You saw it when they kicked the ball around against Washington. You saw it when they kicked the ball around against some of these other teams they've played recently. They need to take care of the ball, and that goes both ways because I mentioned RJ Barrett, how great he's shooting at the rim, how efficient he is. He's getting out in transition more than he ever has before in his career. He was finishing well in transition as a Knick, still finishing, or even better now as a Raptor. He's just doing it more. So not only to prevent RJ from getting out in transition, but the rest of that Raptors team. Other than that, keep doing what you've been doing. This team's been playing well. I'll be curious. I'll be curious if anyone lets the emotions get the best of them if this is a close game down the stretch, which will certainly be something worth watching.
It definitely will be something worth watching. Should be a good one at the Garden. Immanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett making their return on Saturday night as the Knicks host the Raptors. Knicks 8-2 in their last 10 games, 8-2 since the OG Anunoby trade. That is Jonathan Macri, the dean of Knicks Film School. He's going to be watching tonight's game, even though it's just a meaningless game, and he might have some emotions around that. We will see. J-Mac, always good talking Knicks basketball with you, and enjoy the game. We'll talk soon.
Always a pleasure. You enjoy as well.